I'm sure you've probably seen these in the grocery store, spaghetti squash. But how do you turn it from this into this? A lemon parsley parmesan spaghetti squash? I'll tell you how. Let's get cooking with Styles. I like to start by cutting the top off. It makes it easier to handle the squash because it's a little bit hard to work with. So I get the knife started and then I just cut right down the center, because what we're going to do is this is kind of just like a pumpkin on the inside. We're just going to husk this seed and flesh out of here, and then it'll be ready to be steamed. And you want to get most of the flesh out of here, these little fibers, because once it comes out of the steamer, this is how we're going to serve it. We'll get this one ready, and then I'll do the next one. You can see what I'm talking about here. Most of that is out. And that is what we're looking at. All right, this is how they're supposed to look. Pretty clean on the inside. We're gonna season them with a little bit of salt, and make sure you get on the sides and around the top with a little salt. And of course, we're gonna put just a little bit of pepper. If you have a fresh pepper mill, turn it so it's very fine, not like coarse like that, but fine, like that. And then this is going to go in my steamer for about 15-18 minutes. All right, I've got my stock pot boiling with water, and I'm using a steamer. I want you to look at this. If you don't have one of these, not to fear. All you need to do is just put a little bit less water in the bottom and let the acorn or the spaghetti squash sit right side up. We'll go ahead and put this lid on and let that steam for about 15 minutes, and it should be perfect. All right, been about 15-20 minutes. I let these rest for just a little bit because they're so hot to deal with when they come right out of the steamer here. And now we make the magic happen. These are really hot, so be careful. Use a hot pad, and you're just gonna take your fork and scrape just lightly like that. And you see how those are cut? That's why they call this spaghetti squash, because it just starts to fall apart like spaghetti. We'll just scoop that out, get those in there like this. We're gonna put the seasoning in after we get both of these scraped out. And you see, look at how nice and stringy that squash is. It's so good. This is one of my favorite vegetables that is off the beaten path. I mean, how many times have you had spaghetti squash at home? I'll bet not a lot, because a lot of folks just don't know how to cook them and use them in a way that makes it flavorful for the whole kitchen. You see how nice and hot and steamy those are? So we'll do this one just like the other one, scraping it out. And don't over treat it, don't over handle it. Just try to get it out as solidly as you can, because if you can keep those strings all together, it's just that much better. This is so hot. You gotta be really careful with this, especially around the kids and everything. And get this all scraped out. There we go. All right, so now we're gonna doctor this up just a little bit. I'm gonna take a little bit of garlic, about a tablespoon, sprinkle some parsley in there. We gotta have lemon if it's a lemon parsley garlic parmesan spaghetti squash, right? And then at the very end, I'm gonna throw in just a little bit of olive oil here, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. And just for the heck of it, a little bit more salt, just a little, and another twist or two of that pepper. And now we're gonna toss this, get all those ingredients incorporated in. And that garlic was fresh, but the heat of the squash will make the oil and the garlic open up. And we'll take this, and this is the side dish. Now, if you want to go traditional and put, some spaghetti sauce over this, you can, but I love to have this just as a side dish and put it out with maybe a nice little bit of pork chop or something like that. Maybe some chicken. It's just so tasty this way. And then finish it off with a little bit of that Parmesan cheese over the top. All right, this is one of my favorite vegetables, a spaghetti squash. I'm calling it a Parmesan parsley lemon spaghetti squash. It is the perfect time of year to start making some soups, and have I got a good one for you. Butternut squash with a little sour cream and papitas on top. Let's get cooking with style. putting this soup together is just like any soup. You start at the bottom and work your way up with flavor. So what we're gonna do is add some olive oil here, our onion. Now onions cook a little bit slower than the garlic, so we'll saute these around for about 2 minutes. Next goes in the garlic, which is minced nicely. I've got my ginger. Boy, it really adds a lot to this. Rosemary, don't use a lot because it's very powerful. And please use fresh, and the sage as well. We're gonna saute this around for about a minute more, and then we're gonna add our squash and broth. All right, just spend another minute or so, and boy, I wish you could smell this. It is spectacular, the ginger and garlic and rosemary. Now we're gonna put in our broth. And to that, I will then add my squash. And we're just gonna put that in like so. And we're gonna bring that to a slow boil. I'll season with a little salt here now and black cracked pepper. And we'll bring that to a boil and cook the squash until it's tender. Been simmering now for about 15-20 minutes. I'm gonna check this squash. Okay, yeah, you see how easy that goes in, nice and tender, it's falling apart. We wanna shut this off, pull it off the heat, and let this cool just a little. All right, our squash has cooled down enough to start blending it. It's still warm and it's still dangerous. So I'm gonna start to put this in here, but what I want you to do is be very careful because this is molten hot, basically. If this was to spill on you, it would be catastrophic. So we're gonna keep loading the blender up and blending this until we get this all nice and creamy, and I'll start transferring it over. We'll pulse it at first and then put it on grate. All right, and if this happens to you, it's a little too thick, just add a little more broth, pulse it, and we're looking for it. There you go. Okay, we're gonna transfer this over and do this over and over again. All right, the last one is done. I've got this all back in the pot. And what I'm going to do is make sure that this is nice and warm. I'll turn the heat back on to a medium heat and bring it up to a simmer. It's been about 10 minutes. Let's give this a taste test. See, that's why it's important to taste just before you serve. We're gonna put about a half teaspoon of salt in it. I'm gonna let that cook for about another 5 minutes to let all that salt incorporate in, and then I'll serve it up. Now that the flavors are all blended, let's get it in a bowl and serve it up. If you don't have a pastry bag, you have a Ziploc bag, put your sour cream in, and then just cut the little end off, and now you have a little pastry bag. And I'm gonna put this in really nice and gently because I want it to look really pretty. And we're gonna just take this little Ziploc bag and I'm gonna put a little zip around in there like that. And what I've gone ahead and done is I've taken some papitas or pumpkin seeds and I've toasted them with a little bit of salt and olive oil, put those on top. And when we were seasoning, we didn't put the pepper in. I like to put that on at the end because of that beautiful contrast. Boy, that looks good. A butternut squash and bowl of soup, and don't forget the crusty sourdough bread with a little butter on the side. Have I got a great winter pasta dish, and it's all in one pan. It's a baked tortelloni with spinach topped with Parmesan and mozzarella cheese. Let's get cooking with style. You know, the coolest part about this baked tortellini is everything is cooked in one pan. I mean, literally everything. You're gonna get the onions in there, get those going with the garlic. And we're gonna saute this with the butter, with this moving around in there. It's gonna take about 3 or 4 minutes till the onions and garlic are all ready, and then we'll add the flour to start getting everything thickened up. Next goes in the garlic, and you're probably asking, why don't you just put them in together? Well, the garlic cooks a lot faster than those onions, and I don't want my garlic to brown up because then it kind of gets a little bitter. About 1 or 2 more minutes with the garlic, then we add the flour. Garlic, onions are perfect, a little bit of flour in with all of that. And we're gonna saute that around for about 2 more minutes to kind of get the flour cooked just a little bit, and then we'll add the milk to create the sauce. All right, we've got the flour already with the onions and garlic and butter. Now we're gonna switch over to a fork and add our milk. This way we can whisk this all in, because what we're gonna do is create a little sauce here for the tortellini to go in. This will be another 2 or 3 minutes to bring this all together and for the sauce to start to get creamy. So our sauce is tightened up nicely. What you want to do is flip over the spoon, and you see when I wipe off the back there how it keeps separated. At this point, I'm going to season with just a little bit of salt and some cracked pepper. We'll take our spinach and we'll fold it in. If you use frozen spinach, make sure you wring it out before you put it in here, because it's got a lot of extra water in it and it'll make your whole dish a lot more watery. And then to this, we're going to take our tortellini, we'll put those in, and we'll fold this all over, and then we'll get it ready to go into the oven. It'll take just a couple minutes here. Our pasta's been cooking for about 5-6 minutes there. Nice cream sauce, spinach is all wilted. Now for the finishing touches, I'm going to put some mozzarella cheese over the top. You can use the fresh if you'd like. I like this low moisture myself. And then we'll finish it off with a little bit of Parmesan over that. I've got my broiler on in the oven. Pop this in and brown it up, and we'll be ready in a moment. All right, this is looking good. Oh man, nice golden brown. The cheesiness is just oozing out all over. And like I said, it's all in one. So we're just gonna take a nice little scoop of this beautiful tortelloni bake that I've got here. Oh, careful, it's hot. All right, you want a little more? I'd like a little more. Let's put another little scoop right there like that. You see that cheese just stretching, and oh man, you serve this up, and I'm telling you, everyone, little garnish on the side there, everyone is gonna love it. There's so much Parmesan cheese and mozzarella cheese on this, you don't need to add any more. This is an easy baked tortelloni with some spinach and a cream sauce, cheesy goodness all over it. I'm telling you, this is a great way to go to get the family inspired for dinner and eating vegetables. We're going meatless on this dinner for four under 20 bucks. We're doing a tofu teriyaki broccoli with a jasmine ginger cilantro rice. Let's get cooking with Styles. The key to this dish is making sure the tofu gets a little bit crispy, and we do that with a little bit of oil, and we'll sprinkle that or pour that over the top, about a tablespoon and a half or so, and then we're going to put some cornstarch, about a tablespoon. We'll sprinkle that over, and then we're going to toss this lightly, and it's going to go in the oven. So we'll coat this with the cornstarch oil. Do not over stir this, and make sure you're using extra firm tofu or it'll start to break apart. It already is breaking apart a little bit. So we'll get this on the cookie sheet, spread these out, and we're gonna go pop this in the oven and bake it for about a half hour. Oven set at 400 degrees. We're gonna put these in for about 20 minutes, and then we'll turn them once till they're golden brown. While that's happening, let's get our teriyaki going. And this is super simple. I mean, we've got a little bit of water. We're gonna do 50-50 on the water. So in this case, I'm going about a half a cup of water and a half a cup of soy. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna add garlic. We got fresh grated ginger, brown sugar, and that white stuff, that is the cornstarch that'll thicken this all up. We'll bring this to a boil, let it simmer for about 10 minutes. All right, I'm gonna add a splash of rice wine vinegar. It's not make or break, but it'll add a little more depth. Tofu is nice and golden brown. We'll get that out, and let's put this awesome little dish together. I've got my skillet nice and hot. We're gonna start off with a little bit of oil in here. It's gonna smoke a little bit. And we're gonna put in the onions and peppers first, because those are raw. And this is not gonna take very long at all. Give this a toss. We're just trying to soften up these vegetables here. Maybe 30 seconds or so, and then we'll toss it one more time, and then we'll finish assembling it. So it's been about 30 seconds. Give it another toss. I'm putting in the broccoli now. I have blanched these, which means I put them in boiling water and then ice them down so they've got that really bright green. Another toss here. Just enough to get everything hot. In goes our tofu that's nice and golden brown. And you can hear it's nice and crunchy. We're gonna stir this just a little bit. All we're trying to do is get everything hot again. The broccoli and the onions. And I like my stuff with a little bit of punch, so this isn't going to be in the recipe. I'm putting it in for myself, some crushed red peppers. Keep that in mind when you're making it for yourself. Now we're going to take that teriyaki that we made. I'm just going to put that right over the top. A little bit more there. All right. All right, this is ready to go. I've got some awesome rice to go with this dish. Let's go put it all together. So we've got our tofu teriyaki broccoli with some ginger jasmine rice. We're gonna finish it off with a little bit more here. With the ginger jasmine rice, I'm gonna put a little bit of cilantro over the top. We're serving this up family style, so watch out for flying elbows. And then to garnish off the tofu broccoli, I'm gonna do some green scallions, the ends, on top of that. So we put all this together for under 20 bucks, and if you don't like tofu, you can substitute chicken there, and it would be just as good. Maybe a little bit more expensive, but cooking with styles, casual elegance, I gotta tell you, this stuff is good and good for you too. I know you're gonna like it. Normally on Cooking with Styles, you see me in a chef's jacket, but I just play one on television. Today, we're at Chicha Osteria in the Barrio Logan, which, by the way, is a Michelin Bib awarded restaurant. They're going to show us how to take these beautiful squash blossoms and turn them into these crunchy, delicate delights. And I'm here with Chef Francesca, and you're going to be making a beautiful stuffed squash blossom dish. Why don't we get these ingredients going and tell us what we have here?
Yeah, some ricotta. We're gonna blend everything, and also some fresh burrata from Italy.
Okay, and burrata is kind of like a mozzarella, but really
Correct,
fresh.
but as a filling, a creamy filling that make everything more.
And then this is
Parmesan cheese.
Okay,
I'm gonna add also some black pepper.
Okay.
And I need some basil, please.
Okay, yeah, you got this beautiful, how much?
A leaf, probably.
Just one
yes.
leaf, huh?
And we don't need a lot of salt, but just a little bit.
Okay.
And we're gonna blend everything together.
Okay, and this is just a blender. You know, most people have a blender at home, but you've got this really
I
nice.
have my little toy, a Christmas present, but you can use any mixer, really doesn't matter.
Okay.
And when everything is combined, you are ready to go.
Okay, and now we're gonna put this in a bag and stuff the squash blossom. So you just open up the little leaves on the top.
So you wanna open the flower, it takes some patience, and you wanna insert the pipe in the center. You don't wanna break the flour, because when you're gonna cook, you don't want the cheese to go out.
Okay, and so let me open one up for you. And
Let
then
me help you, because I know.
it is.
It is.
There we go, we got it.
So
All right.
when you are like this, let
See
me
that
show
filling?
you the trick.
Okay, let's
You
do
wanna close one flower at a time. When you have one left, the little trick is to put the cheese here and sealing, because this one is gonna be in a tempura batter.
Okay, so from here, where do we go?
We're gonna dip in our tempura dough.
Okay, let's head over to the fryer. So if you're wondering where you can get these squash blossoms right now, farmers markets or specialty produce.
Yes.
All right, Chef, this is the tempura batter. Why don't you show us the trick that you were telling me about dipping them in the oil?
So you wanna make sure the tempura is all on the flour, but you
Okay.
keep the steam clean.
Keep
You
the-
remove the excess, and then there is a little trick. You wanna let them swim 5 times. So you start,
I see, it helps
and
it
then
flow.
you can leave them. Yes,
I'm
you
gonna
don't want to break this beauty.
All right, I'm gonna try it, give it a nice coating in here. And so here's the trick too. Obviously not every one of us has a deep fryer like this, but you wanna make sure, like the chef said, you do it in the top like this. And now if you have a deep cast iron pan like you see me cook with at home, hopefully this works, Chef. Here we go.
It's gonna work, absolutely.
Oh, it's kind of floating.
No, 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 no.
There we go. All right, so how long do these cook?
You will see from the color. You want a golden, crispy outside. I
Okay.
will say maximum 3 minutes.
Okay,
Because
so-
the first 2 are ready. So you notice from the color,
Okay.
and you see how crispy they are. And
Yeah.
look the cheese.
Perfect.
And you also notice from the coloration.
Oh yeah.
And you want a very light tempura, so it's not chewy or heavy. And if the tempura is well done, it doesn't absorb oil, so it's gonna be very light. It's not gonna be an heavy dish.
We did pretty good, huh?
Oh, those looks amazing.
Did I pass my
Of course.
internship?
Voila.
All right, chef, how do we serve this up?
We like to serve on our vegetariano board. It's springtime, so it's all about vegetables.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. So
Thank you.
this recipe really comes together. The only difficult part I see is maybe the deep frying, but with a cast iron skillet, no problem.
No problem. You just want to keep the right temperature.
Risotto is a lot of work, but I'll tell you, it is worth it. In this recipe, it's going to give you a canvas to paint any type of risotto you'd like. Let's get cooking with style. Risotto is all about steps, and the first step is sauteing up the garlic and the shallots. We're going to be using an olive oil, a premium one. By the way, it's grown right here in San Diego. It's the 101 grown in Ramona. We've got our garlic, and we're going to throw the shallots in there, and we're just going to saute these just lightly. Take 2 tablespoons of butter and put those in, and this will take about, say, 2 to 3 minutes, just enough to make the onions translucent, or in this case shallots, and soften up that garlic. We're going to go with a little dry white wine, and this is going to pull the little drippings off the bottom, and you can see what we've got going here, looking pretty good. We're going to season this with a pinch of salt and some fresh cracked pepper. There's our risotto rice, which is not your regular rice. And what we're going to do is stir and stir, and we're going to add about a cup of chicken broth, and we're going to bring this to a boil and then turn it down to simmer, and then each time the rice soaks up the broth, we'll add a little bit more broth until we're finally done and we get a nice creamy texture. This is going to take about 20-25 minutes. We're coming into the home stretch now, so I'm going to add the last little bit of broth, and then I'm going to move this to the back burner and let that cook down one last time before I add the Parmesan cheese and the butter to that. What I'm going to do now is get my mushrooms going, because we're going to have mushroom risotto. Some nice olive oil, that 101 Ramona olive oil, a couple pieces of butter in there. I'm going to start with a little bit of the shallots, held off a little bit of those, and then the garlic. And we'll give that just a little swirl to get that butter and oil incorporated together. And then I'm going to put in my cremini mushrooms, and I'm going to saute these down. It'll take about 3 to 4 minutes, maybe 5. We're just minutes away, so I'm going to hit this with a little bit of the white wine. I'm going to throw a healthy pinch of parsley on top, and then one more dollop of butter. This will add some creaminess to that, and we're going to let that reduce down just a little bit. And while that happens, I'm going to switch burners so we can keep everything moving here. And now with the back, here's our risotto. And look at this beautiful creamy sauce that's already developed, but we're going to make it even better. We're going to take 2 more pats of butter, a healthy scoop of parsley, and then to that, we're going to throw some Parmesan cheese on top, and that is going to make this beautiful, creamy. It'll tighten everything up. Once that melts, I'm going to let the risotto cook just a moment or 2 more before we plate this up. This was a lot of work, but I'm telling you, it is so worth it. So now let's put this all together. Look at this beautiful creaminess there. And then we're going to take our mushrooms that we've sauteed up, and we'll put that right on top, like so. And you got to have more Parmesan cheese, right? So a little Parmesan on top, and then just a pinch of that parsley to kind of set everything off. Buttermilk biscuits, everybody loves them, but I put a little special twist in them with some sharp cheddar cheese, jalapenos, and green onions. Let's get cooking with style. You can use the ingredients that I'm going to show you, but if you have like a pancake or a waffle mix, you can skip all the ingredients I'm going to have and just put the butter in. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put 2 cups of regular flour. We're going to take a little bit of baking powder. We're going to put some salt. and we're gonna sift it so the ingredients are mixed properly, because if you don't and you get one part that doesn't have enough of the baking powder and you go to mix it all together, you're not gonna have biscuits that rise. So you're gonna need this. It's called a pastry knife, and it really makes a difference when you're trying to incorporate the butter. The more butter you use, the fluffier it will get. But you take these blades and you're gonna push down in the flour, mixing the butter in. And what we're trying to do is get as much of this flour mixed in with the butter till it becomes a sand-looking type of texture. And you can see this takes a little bit of work, but it's all worth it in the end. So now you could just add buttermilk, but we're gonna turn this into savory buttermilk biscuits. We're gonna take about a half cup of cubed cheddar cheese, as much or as little jalapenos as you like. We're gonna put in about 2 tablespoons. So now you have a nice mixture here. Everything's kind of suspended and floating around. So now the buttermilk. We're gonna put in approximately 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk. We'll stop at about a half a cup and start to mix this in, because we don't want it to be overly wet. You can see how it's kind of starting to bond together there. Add a little bit more buttermilk. Now don't overmix it, because if you get too much of the gluten stretching in here, these biscuits will be rubbery. And now you can roll these out at this point, or you can do what we're going to do. We're gonna make drop biscuits. So we're gonna put a little bit of butter on our cookie sheet. So this will help the biscuits from not sticking. So now, you can make your biscuits as big or small as you like. I'm going with a portion about yay big. Push them down just a little bit using your spoon there. I'm gonna brush the tops of these. I'm gonna leave them kind of all disc-shaped like this with all these little sharp edges, because when they cook like this, each corner and each little piece is gonna be nice and crunchy and toasty, and it's really, really gonna bring out the flavor of the cheese and the jalapeno. And now lastly, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some scallions. I've cut these on an angle so they look really kind of cool, and I'm gonna put these on top. And then when they come out, the little edges will be all crispy and caramelized. So these go in the oven, 425, for about 16 to 18 minutes. Check them to make sure you're not burning them. I'm gonna toss these in the oven. This is exactly what we're looking for. Take a look at those nice, crispy, golden brown with the cheese oozing out. You serve these up at breakfast, lunch, dinner, they are going to be fantastic. I can't resist. Watch this, watch the steam come off of this. Oh yeah. And the cheese and the jalapenos. These are a showstopper, whether they're just buttermilk biscuits or savory buttermilk biscuits. There's something about fresh baked goods coming out of your own oven that makes them taste even better. These sour cream cranberry pecan scones are something else. Let's get cooking with style. Having fluffy, flaky, light scones is having your butter as cold as it possibly can be. And I just took this cut up butter out of the refrigerator. You can see nice little cubes there. And then if you have a pastry knife, that's gonna make it a lot easier. If not, you gotta do it by a fork, and it's really hard. So this is just going back and forth, and it's tedious, but it'll take about 3 or 4 minutes to cut all this butter into this baking mix. I'm just using like a Bisquick or like a Krusty, something like that. And I'm folding this butter into the flour mix. I'll see you on the other side. All right, you see how this flour mixture is a little grainy? That's the butter all cut into it. Now we're gonna add our ingredients. So I'm doing cranberry and pecans, but you can make any kind of combination you like. It just so happens that's what I'm using here. And you could make these savory too. You could do like, cheddar cheese or something like that. Fold this in so it's all combined nicely. And now the next step is the sour cream. And this is where the exact ingredients don't really work out. You're gonna have to kind of play it by ear. We're gonna start with about, say, 3/4 of a cup of sour cream, and we'll start folding that in until we get a nice doughy mixture. So this is the consistency you're looking at here. Kind of doughy, wet, but not flaky and light yet. Okay, so we've got our cookie sheet, a little bit of butter on there, and now you decide how big you want your scones. I'm gonna go medium large here. And we're gonna leave them all crusty like this, because man, there's nothing better than those crispy, crunchy edges on your scones when you take them out of the oven. So I'm gonna get these all set up on my pan, and then we'll do the finishing touches here with a little bit of cream and sugar. I'll just get 6 on here, and that'll be enough. Go. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of cream here. I'm just gonna brush the tops of these. This is actually half and half. I always call half and half cream. Growing up, my dad called it cream, so that's why I call half and half cream. And then to this, I'm just gonna take a little bit of sugar and sprinkle that over the top. That'll add a nice little crunch to these guys. And I've got my oven preheated and ready to go. Let's get them in there. So make sure you keep your eye on these scones. Check them in about 10-12 minutes. Depending on the size of your scones, these will take about 15 to 18 minutes. These are large, so they took a little bit longer. Remember, they're hot too. So let's plate these up. I'd like to just put them out like this to let folks just dig in. Maybe some scrambled eggs with these, or just by themselves in a bowl of fruit. But I can't resist, so I'm gonna take one of these. I got a little butter on the side, like I need any more butter in this. So some strawberry jam over the top. So flaky, and with those little edges, it is so crunchy and good. Sour cream, cranberry, pecan scones.